Joining us to talk about business during the pandemic and much more is DocuSign CEO Dan Springer. Dan, it's great to have you. I wish that wasn't such a strong metaphor or allegory, whatever you want to call it. You're replacing United. It makes so much sense. In terms of the pandemic, one company so hard hit, and then as far as your company, almost the poster child for what Kramer and the rest of us talk about in this stay-at-home world. It's like almost custom made for that environment, I guess.
Yeah, well, we've been really pleased about the growth we've had, since going public a few years ago. And we have, as we talked about our last earnings call, seen some acceleration, as you mentioned, from some of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is obviously a horrible pandemic. And our number one priority has been the health of and well-being of our employees so we can take good care of our customers. But as you saw in our last earnings, our Q1 earnings, we did see an acceleration of our bookings to 59%. Traditionally, if you look at the billings type metrics, they've been in the mid-30s. So a significant portion of that we think was due to increased use cases from customers driving, as you said, that digital transformation faster, accelerating that faster with services like DocuSign.
59%. I mean, all the numbers are in the stratosphere. And when we look at the stock market, it's up again today, and people say Fed. It's not Fed with a lot of companies. And with your company and with many others, it just seems so particularly well suited to this new environment. What does the future look like for you? I like it. I use DocuSign. I may never have to go remote or leave my house to go to a place to find a notary and do all those horrible things it makes it so much simpler that even without the pandemic, I don't see how we ever go back to business as usual, even after this, if there is an after.
I think you're right. I think one of the things that we've seen with the pandemic impact, it's really accelerated the path that companies were already on to drive that digital transformation you referred to earlier. We don't see someone after the pandemic, and we hope that's soon, of course, after that settles down, going back and saying, I want more paper, I want more manual processes. Once they've got the benefits from that efficiency in their business, the better customer experience and the better employee experience, they're going to stay in a digitally transformed world, and they're going to use DocuSign and other fantastic services to do that. We really think that the future is going to have e-signature at the center of what we call the overall agreement cloud. So companies want to be more agreeable. They want to be easier to do business with and easier to do business for. So they're going to not just use DocuSign for signature, but all the other components of preparing agreements and managing those agreements digitally once they've been created. And that's why we're excited about our very robust future.
I mean, could I factor out exponential growth all the way 5 years from now? I'm wondering what are the new businesses that can come from where you are right now? What are you working on that would transform even what we think of for what DocuSign does now? What are you working on that we can?
Let me give you a couple of examples that might give you some color on why we see that very rosy growth perspective going forward. The first thing is you talked about e-signature, which a lot of people think of as a more mature business because DocuSign has such a strong leadership. But we went public a couple of years ago. We talked about this sort of $25 billion TAM we saw there, and we just passed $1 billion of revenue. So we're only 4%, penetrated today, and we're 6 times larger than the next biggest player in the space. So there's just not a lot of penetration yet on that core business. You mentioned notary a second ago, which is a great example. Notary, of course, is still fundamentally done manually, and people are visiting people's homes or going into centers where people have a notary capability. We're making investments there where we believe we can bring that, the same ease of use we brought to e-signature, we can bring to notary. And then much bigger than that, even expanding upon the opportunity with e-signature, is that broader agreement cloud opportunity. We think this is the next big cloud opportunity, and you're going to see companies increasingly say, I don't just want to do the workflow and the signature. I want to drive the creation of those agreements. I want to think about the artificial intelligence and search capability I put to manage my agreements so I can actually run my business and make my company a more agreeable company to do business with by leveraging DocuSign. Those are some of the investments we're making. And that's why we just finished the acquisition of Seal Software last month, so we could bring additional artificial intelligence and analytic capability to help people run their businesses better.
So the open source catalog that you recently did, positive will that be? How much could that add incrementally if it's developed by, people out in the developer community?
Yeah, so we think it's a significant opportunity. In a SaaS world, sort of interoperability is key. And one of the things a lot of people don't realize, but almost 60% of all DocuSign transactions occur not because someone has gone and logged into our award-winning web portal or our mobile application. They actually built API calls, and they're just automatically generated by their other system. So we're integrated with all the key SaaS software systems, whether that's Salesforce.com, whether that's SuccessFactors owned by SAP. Those companies have integrated their software into DocuSign so our end joint customers can have a better experience. And so building this sort of open source approach is let's let even more people develop great APIs and encourage that interoperability of the systems.